15, we'll have Coach Oats make an opening statement, and then we'll take some questions. As a reminder, just use the raise hand function if you have a question for Coach Oats, and we'll take the questions in the order they are taken. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Coach Oats for an opening statement.
Yeah, I mean, big game. Kentucky's obviously really talented. Did a great job against LSU. You know, I like where our guys are at, but could easily slip up. Actually, I told you I took Twitter off my phone, but I still get to it on my computer occasionally. Somebody told me to look at Brian Pasink's tweet, so I looked at it. I actually read it to our guys today about the last 5 years. There's been 4 times where Alabama had a 15-point or larger win on the road, where that team returned to Coleman in the same year, and the record's 0-4. So I read it to our guys, asked them why they thought it was. They had some good answers. We're going to try to make sure that doesn't happen, but Kentucky's a really talented team that if you don't come ready to play, they're going to get you. So we got to come ready to play, that's for sure.
Thank you, Coach. We got a few questions here in the queue. We'll try to get to everybody as much as time allows. So let's start with Michael Casagrande.
Yeah, Nate, kind of going after that opening statement, just what makes this team different from the team that you coached last year here?
Our leadership's better.
I know.
Our got guys holding each other accountable more. You know, and I asked them at the end, I said, you know, why would that happen? Why did the team go 0-4? They had good answers, and I said, you know, I challenged them, like, we got to show some maturity. We're not those teams, but we could definitely fall victim to the same types of things. So, you know, and then I said, where does tomorrow's intensity start? And they all gave me the correct answer today in practice. And you know, so I thought our guys were pretty locked in. You know, it's one of those deals, you're getting into late January and bodies are tired, everybody's banged up. But I tell the guys, I mean, how many guys in Division I basketball are 100% right now? Like, there's not that many. You're going to have to play through some nicks, bruises, and you're going to have to bring it if you want to be a quality team. So, and we've put ourselves in a great spot. We'll be halfway through conference play after this game. If we can take care of this one, we'll put ourselves in a great spot halfway through conference play.
Next up, Charlie Potter.
Coach, I have kind of a two-parter. Just do you have an update on James Rojas? And kind of piggybacking off of that, how have you thought that Keon Ambrose has played in the last few games, stepping up in place of some guys that are out?
Yeah, Rojas still not practicing. We're hopeful we can maybe get him by game time. So even if we do get him at game time, you know, he will have been out for close to a week. So we're going to need Keon to play well for us again. He's athletic. He's active. He's eager to you know, he's very coachable. Like, we like him a lot. He's, you know, like I said before, we kind of recruited him to be more of a 4, not as much of a 5. We're having to play him at the 5 a little bit more. But, you know, he can block shots, rebound. You saw, you know, he's been working on his skill. He can make a jumper. He can make threes. So he's going to get minutes, you know. Hopefully Reese is able to give us some good quality minutes for longer than normal. And when he's out, you know, a combination of Ambrose, Rojas, even Jawan. I mean, shoot, Herb can even guard the 5 sometimes. So we've got options there. Our depth's a lot better to be able to withstand some injuries this year versus last year. You know, last year guys would go down and we'd be in some serious trouble. I think this year, you know, Quinn only missed 3 games. We won all 3 of them, and he's been super vital to what we've done this year. You know, Herb went out, only played the first 8 minutes of that game at Kentucky, and we were able to still have a quality win. Bruner goes out, didn't play the last 10 minutes at Kentucky, hasn't played since, and we've won. So, you know, there comes a point when you can only withstand so many, but we've been able to withstand what we've had this year so far.
Let's go to Cecil Hurt next.
Coach, obviously you're very familiar with Isaiah Jackson. I think blocks 7 shots in the first game. How do you think it developed this
Hey, Cecil, for whatever reason it was cutting out for a second. Did you ask me how Isaiah Jackson's been developing this year? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So we recruited Isaiah. Obviously, he's from Detroit, where I coached for 10 years. I know him. I know his dad. We recruited him hard. Would have loved to get him. I think he's come along well. I mean, I think his motor's great. His activity level's big time. Against us last time, he had more than double what his scoring output was, so we didn't do a very good job on him last game we played him. He gets most of his stuff, run the floor hard, offensive rebounds, pick and rolls, sprinting to the rim, getting on rolls, but he's shown the ability here lately to face you up, take you off the dribble a little bit. The post-up game's not his number one strong suit, but he has, if you switch and got smaller guys on him or guys he's got more length and size on, he's shown he can do that as well. So I think he's playing well. I mean, he's on most of everybody's first-round draft board. I think he's got the upside to be on those first-round draft boards, and we're gonna have to deal with him tomorrow. I think they took him out of the starting lineup. My guess would be, they're trying to get different lineup, but he's still playing a lot of minutes. I don't think it's because of him. I think it's because of them trying to get some other guys into the lineup a little bit more.
Let's go next to Joey Blackwell.
Hey, Coach. You guys, of course, are now ranked number 9 in the AP. I was wondering, what, if any, changes for you and the players, what, if any, changes in preparation or approach, what changes in approach do you make when you adjust from being the hunter to the hunted?
Yeah, we didn't know we were 9. As a matter of fact, I didn't know until a minute or two ago. We just finished practice up. But we have talked about being the hunter, being the hunted. Like, whether teams are hunting you or not, you got to maintain the mindset that you're still the hunter. Like, you got to go after teams. Like, you got to come out with an intensity level that they have to match your intensity level. So, hopefully we can maintain that mindset, even though we've climbed up into the top 10, which is great for our guys. I'm not sure how long it's been since they've been in the top 10 here. It seems like it's been a little bit. But our guys are playing well. They're playing together. They're showing great leadership. The chemistry's good. Like, everything's good around the program to the point where these guys deserve to be ranked in the top 10. Their play shows it. But, all the hard work you put to get there can – one bad outing and you're probably out of it. So we got to bring it every night. We got to stay focused, and we've got to – the stuff that we can control, we got to be great at. We're not going to make 23 threes every game, but we can play hard. We can be locked into the scouting report. We can give it a great effort. We can rebound the ball. All that stuff that is controllable within each game, we got to be great at every night out.
All right, let's go to Drew Carter next.
Hey, Nate, you're at the point now where we're asking you about handling success, and I know that's something that Coach Saban has to talk a lot about, with the rat poison and everything. I'm just wondering if you've talked with him at all or learned anything from him about teaching your players how to deal with success.
Well, before I ever got to Alabama, I followed him pretty closely since even when I was a high school coach back up in Michigan. But when we got to Buffalo, I don't think I've told you guys all this before, but we created a practice template like in Excel. We had one of our managers, and Bowman, my ops guy, kind of created this. You pick out the type of drill, put it so you got your thought of your kind of points of emphasis. Well, then the last thing we do after we kind of create the teams each day is we give them a quote of the day. So when you go to the quote of the day, there's literally like about 5 different tabs on the bottom that you can pick quotes of, and one of them is Saban quotes. So I've been giving my team Nick Saban quotes since back at Romulus, Buffalo. They got a heavy dose from at Buffalo. I tried to do a little bit less of it here since they get plenty of those Saban quotes every day in the media, but we still reference those as needed. I'm not going to say I've learned a ton more since I've been here by spending all kinds of time. I have spent enough time over there and try not to wear out my welcome over there, but I mean, I've said it before, he may be the best team coach, coaching a team going on right now, like currently in sports. I think the football program here is at a high level. They obviously have to learn how to handle success. The success we're having is not at their level yet. They're trying to handle success, winning national championships and trying to keep the teams grounded every year, but it does apply. So, it's if you talk about winning an SEC championship down the road, that's kind of distracting from winning the game tomorrow. So really, handling success is just handling your business on a day-to-day basis. Like, Saban refers to it as the process, and but it's just doing what you're supposed to do today. So that's what I tried to tell our guys. How do we make sure we don't have a letdown tomorrow? Or you have a great practice today and you get locked in. So you set yourself up for failure when you don't have great practices leading in the game. So I thought our guys were pretty focused. We tried to make it a shorter practice just to get their legs back under them, but we still had times in practice when we were going intense and live, and they were pretty good in those. So I liked where we're at mentally after practice today. But, yeah, I'm going to continue to learn as much as I can from Coach Saban as long as he'll allow me to learn from him.
Next up, Jeff Spiegel.
Hey, Nate, you talked about good leadership on this team. How much better of a player, how much better of a leader is Herb Jones than a year ago?
Well, he's a lot better player because he's healthy. I mean, I was talking him up big last year. I loved him when I got here, saw everything he could do. Then he comes out in the first game against Penn and hyperextends his elbow. Takes like 6 weeks to get back to health. He kind of gets healthy late December and playing great. He was leading the SEC in assist turnover ratio, and then he broke his wrist, and then he had to play the rest of the year with his wrist in a cast. So I think his shooting, he spent a ton of time in the gym this offseason working on his shooting. I think he's shooting 50% from three right now. So he's a worker. He's worked hard to make his game better. His game was a lot better than he was able to show last year because of the injuries. This year he's able to show everything he had last year and all the work he's put into his shot. When you play well, it's easier to lead. I mean, you're out there, you're one of the best players, if not the best player on a game-to-game basis. I mean, we've got a lot of guys that are playing well, but he's at the top of that list. Obviously him and Petty. Petty got National Player of the Week not too long ago. Those two guys are playing at a high level. It's easier to lead when you're playing really well. And I think, he's not the most vocal guy all the time, but he's much more vocal this year than he was last year. He's in the game more. He's got the ball in his hands. We're letting him play point a lot. And he's talking. I mean, he's telling guys when they need to go harder. He's talking through coverages on defense. He's doing a great job with all that. Him and Petty both are doing an unbelievable job with that leadership stuff. It helped getting Bruner in here. Bruner's out now, so it's harder to lead when you're not playing, but he's doing a good job. And, Reese and even Tyler Barnes, our walk-on, those 5 seniors have given us really good senior leadership.
Let's go next to Mike Rodak.
Nate, you just kind of referenced it a little bit, but how as a coach do you navigate some of the guys getting banged up with Reese and Herb the last game under the basket, and just with how hard they play, especially with Herb, but also the need to kind of keep them healthy here for the stretch run?
Good question. So, we played Saturday. When we brought him in Sunday, we did video work, and then we literally had a 40-minute practice. 20 minutes you spent with Snowden or Clark getting kind of a recovery, stretch, lift, treatment, 20 minutes on the floor, and then they swapped. So we went 20 minutes, didn't have her practice. The heavy minute guys, all they did was shoot. The other guys did a little bit more off the dribble moves, a little bit maybe harder. But we went light yesterday. Today, tried to shorten practice up, keep it typical day before game practice. I tell them all the time, it's my job to make sure that we don't go too long to where you're not as fresh as you can possibly be. It's your job to just go as hard as you can in whatever we have planned. So they went hard. We actually cut out the last thing in practice today. I could tell that they were a little bit dragging. I mean, it's getting to the end of January. We've been going a while. So we just got to be smart with how much time we put on. I'm not going to overdo it. Even if we take a loss, which it's highly likely it's going to be hard to run the table. But whenever we would take a loss, I'm not going to come in and destroy them. I mean, I'm not going to lose 2 games in a row because I'm an idiot and practice them for 3 hours the next day. Like, we got to give an honest effort every time out, and coaches got to be smart about how hard you go. And I think if you look, when last year we didn't get the opportunity to play in the SEC tournament, But my 4 years at Buffalo, I think we were peaking in March every year there. We won 3 out of those 4 tournaments, but we were playing our best basketball come March. In order to be doing that here, we got to be smart with nicks, bruises. It helps. You got more data here to help you. You've got the catapult system. You got our trainers are with us, so we're trying to be as smart as we can with all that stuff.
All right, we got 4 more questions left in the queue, so let's go ahead and just finish up with these 4, starting with Joe Goodman.
Hey, Nate, I just kind of wanted to piggyback off of Jeff's question earlier. It's impossible for me to love a player more than I love Herb Jones. What's he like to coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to love a guy more than Herb Jones as a coach, too, to be honest with you. I mean, I've had a lot of players I've really enjoyed coaching over the years. He's at the top of that list. I mean, he just plays so hard. And he if he's walking, he's probably going to be playing. He had the finger come out. I mean, it was crazy. You saw the look on his face at Kentucky. The skin broke, the whole, even after the game when I said, yeah, we're probably going to be out without Herb for a few games, one of my assistants said, no, I'm playing the next game. One of my assistants told me Herb said that. That was after the game at Kentucky when he's got skin broken because of the dislocation. I mean, he's so tough. And literally, he'll do when he broke the wrist, his personal numbers are going to take a dive last year. He can't do anything. He can't pass, dribble, or shoot. His wrist is broke. He's in a cast. He's all about winning. If it's going to help the team win, put me in there. Like when I just put him in on defensive possessions at Auburn, just put me in whatever you need me to do, Coach. So that's just who he is. That kind of leadership, that kind of play, that kind of attitude rubs off on teammates. I mean, it's hard for somebody else to sit a practice out when he's going to play like that. I mean, if you're one of these young guys watching how to be a professional and how to play at a high level and you see that every day, it's going to be hard to try to get a little bruise on your knee, sit practice out. So, he's great. He's a great kid. If you really got anybody that really has gotten to know him at all, I mean, he's really good, which that goes along. I mean, I keep talking about our seniors, but when you get seniors like him, Petty, Reese, Bruner, Tyler, and they're all giving us that type of stuff. When Bruner's on the side and he's acting like an assistant coach like he is, like that goes a long ways. When Reese has had the attitude he's had this year. But, yeah, I mean, Herb's been great that way. He's unbelievable to coach.
All right, next up, Jerry Tipton, and we'll finish with Steve Moulton. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, Nate, I read where you said going after the Mississippi State game, you were glad that you had a competitive, more of a possession-by-possession game. And I wondered what you hoped you got out of that. And as a follow-up, I wonder, it was only 2 weeks ago you played Kentucky, but do you see anything different in them in now versus then?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what my quote was. If I said I'm glad we did it, that would probably be a lie. I mean, I kind of like the blowout wins, to be honest with you. Whatever I said, I probably meant to say it was probably good for us to play in a tight game. I don't think it's bad. I do think it's good to have to scrap and claw your way to a win late. It was a one-possession game there late in the game. It was a 3-point game before we hit that bucket. I think JP had a 3 or somebody there late. But, it was good for our guys to have to do that when we didn't play particularly well and didn't shoot the ball well, and Mississippi State did a great job, turning the game into a tight game late. So it was good for our guys, but I'm not opposed to opening up a lead and keeping the lead opened up. Like there was some fun involved in that too. It makes it more of a player's game and sometimes less of a coach's game when it's like that. But we'll see what happens. If we can keep shooting the ball like we were there for a stretch, I think we'll be all right. The Kentucky question, I've watched. They played Auburn, LSU, and who's the other one they played since? Georgia. Thank you. I've watched all 3 of those games, and they all were different games. I think they're playing with a little bit more confidence in their offensive game. B.J. Boston looks a lot better within those 2 weeks than he did against us He's got a lot more of that swagger back. You know, they're doing a little bit more with the rotations, and you know, I think it's hard to change a ton in 2 weeks, but they're better. They're 100% better than they were 2 weeks ago. So we're going to have to play better than we did 2 weeks ago. You know, they're still kind of figuring things out, and they've had injuries, and you know, see if they get Terrence Clark back for our game. We're anticipating he'll be back, but we'll see. You know, they showed a little bit of zone, but you know, I've watched Cal for a long time. I mean, his big thing is developing pros, and he's done an unbelievable job at it. They've got so many more pros in the league than almost anybody. The NBA is not a zone league, so when Cal develops pros, if you're going to really develop pros, you play a lot of man-to-man. You know, I've seen a few possessions here and there of zone, which makes sense at the time, but I still think he's into developing pros, and that doesn't go hand in hand all the time, if that makes sense, with developing pros. So I think, because you when you beat a team pretty good, you try to think about what the other coach may do. And that was, they had a hard time guarding us off the dribble a little bit. Sometimes teams go zone. When you hit 23 threes in a game, it's probably, if I was the coach, I'd have a hard time zoning us, knowing that, we shoot the ball that well. So I think they're playing harder, playing more in sync. They're playing better, but you can't change your whole identity in 2 weeks. So they're more similar than they were 2 weeks ago, but they're just a better version of it.
All right, last question. Go ahead, Steve.
Coach, it's obviously a different year for every team, but to the home crowd as well, of the people that are able to be there, it felt like there was some energy that the people that were able to attend over the weekend. How big of a factor is that of just not getting juice from your bench, but inside the crowd as well tomorrow night?
Yeah, I mean, it's whoever shows up needs to be as loud as they can possibly be. I think what a disappointing loss for my Packers yesterday, but the crowd looked like they were getting after it up there in Lambeau. So whatever limited crowd they had got loud. We're inside a building, so I think we can get even louder. Obviously we played at Kentucky last year. I played there when I was at Buffalo as an assistant. That place gets really loud, when it's full. It was not nearly as loud when it was empty, but when they started to make a run on us, what crowd they had started to get loud. So I think whoever's there needs to get as loud as they can get. I mean, there's a limited number of people there, so if you're not going to get loud, give your tickets away to somebody that is going to get loud for us. So it's nice to have whatever we're allowed to have in there and get them as loud as they can. And but again, if we're relying on crowd noise for us to play hard, then we're probably not the team I thought we were. We need to be able to play loud, play hard, whether the crowd gets that loud or not. We got to have an internal motor that makes us go hard no matter what. And our bench has been great with giving energy. I think we've done the best job we could under the circumstances this year.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.